I would say there's a lot of common misconceptions out there that are thrown around that customers bite off on, whether it's a vendor that has a culture of rapid sales to a customer, and they all want to sell their products, right? There's a huge misconception of let's say a consulting organization. I've got to go with a gigantic consulting organization and I got to spend, $12 million on this cloud security strategy. I'm not going to be secure, when you could work with a BlackLake and for half of that, we can do the same, if not a better job. And what's interesting is a lot of times we're going to the same place to get the writers and a lot of the engineering talent and things like that to get these things done. We have in-house, obviously, but it's just interesting how I've got to go with a gigantic consultant for this huge strategy because nobody gets fired for going with that consultant, right? Versus who's BlackLake. So that's a big misconception. Everybody uses, from the vendor product widget perspective, everybody uses hey, it's the month end, it's the quarter end. We've seen some really good procurement organizations at these big customers. They know this from a long time and they kind of work it back into their favor. What ends up happening is a lot of times they wait till the end of the month or the end of the quarter to release a PO because the vendors are so aggressive at the end of the quarters and end of the months. So that's a fun game to watch. These procurement organizations are getting much smarter, and we can help them with that as well. I mentioned this earlier, but as consolidation happens, there's always a lot of ambiguity in the quotes, right? So like I mentioned with an earlier question, if there's 4 or 5 different implementations of the same product, and then now we're going to try to sit down with the customer and rope it into something more strategic so the customer can get a savings, the vendor can get a recommitment and reset the date for 3 to 5 years. The customer can get more out of the product, sometimes 20, 30% more functionality, and also be more secure. But there's just a lot of inherent negotiating and cramming of products that they don't need and all kinds of things, especially if during that consolidation, the actual dollar amount of revenue short term shrinks. So there's a lot of games that way. What we always try to do is look, this customer is re-upping or recommitting to you, Mr. Vendor, for another 3 to 5 years. That gives us 3 to 5 years to, let's say we took a deal from 20 million to 12. We've got 3 to 5 years to more than make up for the 8 that we shrunk the deal. So there's a lot of weird there, trying to convince vendors to look at long-term relationships over short-term gain. I could give you 5 more, but our clarity model and our transparency and what we do with our customers is really made as the antidote to that.